What's up, everybody? Well, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for hanging with Henry. We're going to be doing some fork work on a 2017 Honda 250R today. They're air forks. I'm not a real big fan of the air forks. All of our bikes have spring forks on them. Just super hard for me to maintain, I guess. But then again, not a lot of people I know run air forks. They're just, I don't know, they give out a lot. They just change every time you get back on the track. You can ride a moto, come back, and get out there, and it's just like totally different. Unlike the springs forks when you pretty much set them and that's it. But let me flip this around. Going to, as far as starting breaking the front end down, I haven't touched anything yet. I figured I'd give you guys a full knockout on this one because it's not a really hard job. What is essential? Got to have one of these bad boys for the forks. They hold the fork. Put the fork in there. I'll show you in a few minutes how they latch on there. But what you got to take off pretty much the front brake line holder here. You got to pull your nuts loose here. This got to come off. Your brake's got to come off. You flippity skippity on this side. Same thing. Fork guards got to come off. Those have to get loosened up. Tensioner bolts there. 2 tensioner bolts there. And pretty much they'll slide out. Now I have in the past, if I had the bike up high enough, I don't think I can do it on this one, it's not high enough, pull these 4 here and the 4 on the other side and just slide the whole front end out, tire in the wall, excluding taking the brake off. Slide the whole forks, everything out, but then you still got to break it apart. So just much easier doing it on here because you can get a hold of it and snatch it all off. So I'm going to go ahead and skip forward for you guys, get all this broke loose and get the tire off, and I'll come back. Once you get the front tire off, obviously this is what you're going to be left with. I usually, if my brake line's not too brittle, I'll kind of just throw it up there to kind of hold it in place for me instead of just dangling down there in the way. I put the tire down this way also so my spacers stay in place so they don't fall out and get mixed up the other side. The other side doesn't have any. It actually uses the shaft as the spacer. So that, I usually try to put a clean towel down also. That way no dirt or anything gets on the shaft. Even though I'm going to clean it and re-grease it, it's just good practice. Alright, these got to come off. I'm going to go ahead and break these loose right here. And I'll show you how to slide them bad boys out. Usually I do this side first. I don't know why. I think that's just preference. But what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to bust loose these 4 10mm tension bolts. Now, I've got a small impact. Don't do that. Should have been holding on to it. So, see how easy they come out? But, alright, well, that one's out. Let's slide to the other side, Clyde, and hopefully we don't drop that one. Because that was bad. You notice I got my leg on this one. There we go. Alright, and then, like I said, I usually leave these on there. It's a little bit easier just when I put them in a clamp to take them off, that way I can get a hold of them. So let's put them in a clamp. Now you can get these clamps pretty much anywhere as far as your, I want to say your local motorcycle dealer parts. Super good to have. I mean, you really can't do the forks without them. I mean, you can. I have. Then I'm at the track in the dirt. That's pretty much it. As far as holding them in there, super good. Probably don't want to squeeze it too tight, but it's got rubber bushings right here, so it doesn't really won't squeeze them that tight to damage the fork. Yeah, like I said, we got the fork in the clamp. Gonna have to pull the seal. But first, pull them 3 bolts off right there. You're gonna pull your cover off. She's been leaking for a hot minute. Those don't look bad, but seals are probably bad. And also, when you get ready to start taking these apart, we're going to remember the clicks. We're going to spin it closed, and that way we put it back together, it gets put back with the same amount of clicks as you took it apart. Alright, we're going to start with the unaired side. If you're going to want to break this loose first before you start with the bottom, because you're going to have to dump all the fluid out of here. And most of the time, if they're greased up properly, you can just crack them loose and should be able to undo it by hand. A lot of air in that one. Just suck it up. And that's it. Once she's loose, we'll flip it over, we'll crack the bottom loose, but first get this loose, drain the fluid out, then we'll get to the bottom nut. Alright, once we got it flipped upside down, definitely put some down there because it's going to drip down there all day. I believe this is a 19mm socket, and you also want to count your clicks back. Run your clicks back in, write them down, that way when you put it back together, you can roll your clicks back out and not have to worry about your settings. Alright, when you're going to bust this nut loose, I use a small impact. Trying to get it loose with hold it by hand and hit it with a regular ratchet. It's almost impossible. Alright, once you get it loose, you're going to have to put some pressure on it to slide. Usually what I'll do is I'll slide this back up in here and just put it on there a couple turns enough to catch. It'll put enough pressure on here so you can separate these two. You're going to have to get a 17mm wrench and slide it underneath it so you can crack this loose off of the dampening rod. Alright, this is where you want to have to put your wrench. Put the socket back up there, just go ahead and crack it loose, and then you'll be able to pull the fork completely apart. Alright, once you get that off, this whole assembly will slide right out the bottom of the tube. And that's what you'll be left with. So, right there is going to be a little clip that's going to be holding this assembly, and you got to pull the fork seal off, pull the safety clip up, and then you'll be able to pull this assembly out. Once you got the dust cap off, you're going to be able to see the oil seal itself. You're going to pull that clip off, and a few short little pulls, and the whole assembly will come out. So for all intensive purposes in this video, I'm just going to go ahead and change the oil seal on the fork. But you want to take note, make sure there ain't any wear spots or anything on it. Make sure that all your parts are good. Now these look pretty worn. You probably need to replace these. These are mine, I'd replace them. Doesn't look too bad there. But you want to pay attention to the order they're in, because you're going to have to put them back on the same way, obviously, that they came off. Usually I pull this clip off. See if I can do it one-handed. Probably not. But I usually pull this off, that way everything comes off a little easier, and I'll put a piece of tape over that way the new oil seal goes down and doesn't pop off. I think there's a spring you can see on the inside of there's a spring, and if that pops off, might as well just throw it in the trash. I've got that off. You should slide right out. Get your top, your middle, and then your fork seal. Sometimes that'll give you a little trouble, but that's it. And like I said, you want to go back on the same way you put them on. For all intensive purposes, like I said, I'm gonna put a piece of tape here, but I just kind of slid it on there to show you how it goes. Alright, and I put them back on the same way that they came off, the new seal. And make sure that this goes on the same way. If you can see the spring when you're looking down at it, it's on upside down. Alright, let's go back and reinstall her. Alright, well, everything kind of slides right down in. You're going to have to tap this in enough to where you can put your clip back in, and that's as far as you want to tap it. Should be bottom out right there. Sorry about the focus. Then you can slide this back down and lock it into place. Alright, well, you kind of see there's a little ridge in there, and that's where that clip's you want to put it, but yeah, it's kind of shitty, but kind of get the gist of it. Alright, it's kind of hard to see in there, but the clip's in. You'll notice that most of it disappears inside the fork tube, so when you got it all the way down in that clip, you're ready to go. Dust cover's on. Make sure that it lines up all the way around evenly, and it snaps in, so it's not too hard to mess up. All right, once you get that in there, you can go ahead and reinstall the tube. You can. Nope. Got to make sure that's all the way up also. Make sure she slides all the way up the top, and usually what I do is I'll put it in and just throw a couple threads in it. That way it just stays. Then you ain't gotta worry about it falling out. Alright, that's what we've got to deal with. We'll put this back on, and then we'll reattach the tube, and we'll go ahead and put some fluid in her. Alright, once you get it back together, pretty much in the same reverse of the way you put it together, remember to reset your clicks. This was set at 22 clicks, so we'll take 22 clicks back out. Alright, I got all that back together. I got it back in the holder, right side up. We're about to pull the sleeve out and get to adding some oil. Usually what I try to do is I'll try to pull it up as far as I can to add oil, and then go and let it sink back down. Let it sit there for a little bit and aerate itself out. Make sure all the air is out, and then tighten her back down. Alright, got the rod back up in there. Make sure you tighten this down. I kind of skipped this step I forgot about when I was trying to add the oil, but it fits 380 milliliters of oil on the non-air side. High performance for gold, guys. But anyway, that's it. So let's reinstall it back in the bike and move on to the next one. Well, this starts the process in reverse, putting our forks back in, tightening them up. And what I usually do is I'll get both forks back on, get the front tire on. I will loosen these up just enough so they stay on the bike, spin the tire, and yoke the brake a couple of times, kind of get the alignment done for your front forks. Well, there she is, boys and girls, all back together. Forks aren't too hard. Trying to get the air side apart is a little bit harder than most, but not too bad. And I always try to aim them out by the bars, that way you can fill them up when you need to. So that's it, folks. Thanks for watching. Doing a fork seal replacement on 2017 Honda CRF 250R. Hit the like and subscribe button.